Hey everybody, this is a very, very quick 25 minutes probably little streamette because two things. One, I'm trialing some new software, and the second is that I want to just talk about ClickSargent for a couple of minutes, which is the charity that I've been supporting now for almost the whole of June. While we're doing that, I thought that I would give you an overview of Crayta, because like most people in the community you will have watched over the last few days, quite a few of us were given early access, and thank you to Unit 2 Games for that. You may remember a short while ago I interviewed Hannah, who is the operations director for Unit 2 Games, and that was a really interesting interview. Obviously, a little while before I'd had an opportunity to see Crayta, other than the developer videos. And it is, I don't like calling it a game personally. Funny enough, they don't mind. I think Unit 2 refer to it as a game. And obviously, on a gaming platform, that makes some sense. But although there are very clearly games within Crayta that they have had other developers develop for them, independent studios, as well as some for themselves. And of course, as I'm sure you know by now, you can also design and build your own games and publish them to the community, which is a great feature. So now then, who's this? Odds on Fuller. So obviously right now, nobody publicly is in Crayta. This is anyone that we see in our little jaunt is either another content creator or a journalist, or it is somebody from Unit 2. Now, Unit 2, as I speak, are doing an AMA, so I'm not making a big song and dance about this video. This will go live for people to watch. And as I've said, the key thing really for me is to use this to publicize my appeal for ClickSargent, which you can see along the bottom there is I have a goal of £1,000, about $1,200, give or take, and we are almost 2/3 of the way to that goal. It stalled a little bit. I think the way these things tend to go. So I'm hoping I'm going to keep pushing this until we reach the goal. It's close to my heart for various reasons, and these guys do an amazing job. What they essentially do is provide support for children that are battling cancer and or within a family environment that is dealing with it. So they're not one of these "we can cure cancer" type charities. They literally provide amazing support, both in terms of pastoral care, in terms of information, in terms of education, and so on. So massively worthwhile cause. And if you can pop $5, £3, doesn't really matter what it is. Some people have been unbelievably generous, and others have been generous in their own way. So anything that you can add in will be absolutely amazing, and I would be fantastic if you could do that. You will not see the link here until I pop it into the description, but it's essentially tiltify.com/@ Stadia Rocks, all lowercase, /Rokk, lowercase r, and that'll get you through to the donation page, and you'll see there the whole bunch of different amounts that people have generously given. So back to Crayta. Now, Crayta is in essence two products. There's two big aspects to Crayta. The first one, and this is the lobby. So this is where you come every single time you log in to Crayta and you don't have a specific project to work on. And this is, I suppose, the closest thing to think about this is maybe the tower in Destiny, or the camp in, I forgot what it's called, in Breakpoint. Essentially, wherever you're going to see actual other live people. So you imagine after this goes live tomorrow, this will be absolutely full of people. Now, there is a set of emotes and things which you can press, but I can never get mine to work. That's not a reflection on the game; it's a reflection on a broken keyboard because they're assigned to the number pad, and mine kind of sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. So yeah, apologies for that. So any road up, you have this. So this is the lobby. This is where you would maybe see some people that know, or you join up with a bunch of guys to decide if you're going to play a game. At the moment, as you can see here, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 publicly available titles, and if you look underneath them all, you'll see who created them. So Crayta Cooking is the developers themselves, Unit 2 Games. We have Super Do More, which is my favorite, and that's Spilt Milk Studios. That's another, I think that's a British independent studio. Disaster Party, that's a Unit 2. Prop Hunt, which is definitely one of the favorites. I think it's really good fun. That's another Unit 2. Huddle for Warmth is Double Blip Games. This is, I believe, a Canadian studio, and this is a kind of survival game. You have to literally stick with your running mates, or you'll freeze to death, which is quite an ingenious idea. Then we've got Interception, another Unit 2, and finally we've got Outlaw, which is via Viewpoint Games, who I don't know a great deal about. So they're the games that you can literally jump in and play from the get-go. However, I fully expect to see there'll be changes on launch. I'm sure of that. There may well be more publicly available games, and certainly you will start to see community games. I know several content creators who've had the early access that I've had have really gone to work and have oh, look, there's Jem. Hello, Jem. They've really gone to work, and they've already created some pretty damned amazing games. So yay, how's it going, Jem? So this is the great thing at the moment, is whenever you come in here, you typically see another content creator that you know. So it's good and the great all lining up. So at least I've never seen what Jem looks like, but I'm going to assume he looks something like his character. So there you go, a little like Bill from Stadia Cast, bless him. So that's your lobby. Now at this point, Jem could send me a request and say, "Hey, Rokk, do you want to come and do something or another? Or do you want to jump into one of these games?" Of course, I may very well do. But if you go to your here we go, to your dashboard, or I think they call it your hub. I'm just going to move my camera, update the screen so that you can see what's going on. I'm not covering anything up now. Well, you can see here I've been quite busy. I've got to level 23 with 66 or 44% to go to get to level 24. And you just get masses of rewards. It's really cool, actually. You get, suits, clothes. It's all cosmetic stuff, to be fair. Drones and emotes and all sorts of things, which is really cool. It's a lovely idea. And you get a load of that stuff just by opening up the editor, creating a game, jumping in with some friends, playing a game, whatever you do. And although I haven't experienced it myself, I've read today that there are even kind of Easter eggs embedded within some of the games. So if you go and finish a game, it kind of unlocks something in another game, which I think is a wonderful idea. Unit 2, the developers really have to be applauded for putting this together. They've used, I believe they've used Unity, which in itself is a game development engine. And when you get to actually create games and go into the advanced level, it looks quite similar to a kind of baby version of Unity, which obviously they've leaned heavily on the tool that they've used. So that makes a heap of sense. So as you can see, there's a few little boxes here. We've got play a game, so we can go in and play a game if we want to. We've got news, which I think at the moment doesn't say a huge amount. It's worth just pointing out again, this is pre-release. It doesn't go live until tomorrow. I happen to know, because I've spoken to the developers, that there will be additional stuff tomorrow, particularly in and around the community aspect. So, for example, I asked the question, would I be able to upload my own textures? which we'll have a look at quickly in a second. They're called voxels. And I was told, yes, after launch. So presumably from tomorrow, I will be able to upload my own textures. And partly the reason for that is that you have to do it, I believe, through a web portal, a separate web portal. They then vet the texture to make sure you're not putting up something, somebody else's brand that's copyright or something that's going to be offensive. And then they allow it through so that you can then take it and add texture. So you could, in essence, go and take, I don't know, a photograph of your garden or local bricks that, or some thatch on a thatched cottage if you can't find those textures, and then import them and do your own thing. Also, meshes, which are fully formed three-dimensional objects, assets they call them, and that's obviously what they are. Again, they will be rolling out a feature in the not too distant future where you'll be able to upload your own meshes. So again, I think that's partly the reason why they're taking a bit of time. Is it's more difficult to establish if you're uploading somebody else's 3D work that you've not paid for than it is if it's a photograph and you can just look at it and go, oh, that would be offensive, or oh, that looks like a logo. So I'm sure they're kind of trying to think through the mechanics of how that would work. But hey ho, so welcome to Crayta. At the moment, it's the only piece of news they've got going on in there. And then we can see over here just a kind of quick view of people that you possibly have played with. I've played with Eddie. So it's showing if they're online or not. You can view friends. And then you can add people as favorites, which I've done here with stars. You can add them into groups, invite them as a group into working on your project. And there's a whole load of things around the social aspect that works really well. And you can see the tab at the top has changed to social to recognize that's where I am. So you've got, let's have a look here, 7 tabs. Home is your hub. So this is where you're essentially just looking at your XP, and it's kind of who friends are online and stuff. Play is a list of the publicly available games. Now it says featured games here, so as you can imagine, they will be looking to add more and more. We've got active games, and then I think we will start to see, so games you've played recently, frequently played, and you'll start to see games that will be added by the community as they get created. You'll also see here, this is you can create a share link, so someone can give you a code, and in your copy of Crayta you can jump in to the game that they're working on and help them in real time collaborate on a project, which is an amazing feature. Or you can create your own. It's very simple to do. Camera's in the way as always. Let me move myself over here and I'll reset that. So it just generates a code which they can either plug into their copy of Crayta, or as you can see there, they can type it into a web browser and join you that way. Now, although I don't think this, by the way, is classified as a beta feature as far as Google are concerned, and I happen to know from some code that was unpacked that you may well in the future be able to jump into games that have a sort of sharing function, even if you don't necessarily own the game, and that's interesting. So we'll watch this space. It may never happen, but it's certainly something that is being considered. So we don't need to do that because I'm not going to invite anybody in at this point. Oh, I'm trying to use my mouse there. Because I'm using a controller, by the way. You can use Crayta with a controller. If you're looking to play games, that's probably the best way to do it. Although keyboard and mouse is perfectly viable for that. But certainly if you're using a Chomecast Ultra, then playing on the old TV and using, sorry, I'm just going to have a quick look and see if I can see chat, but this doesn't appear to be working here. Excuse me. And sorry if you are sending me chat messages because I'm not seeing them. Yeah, so essentially, if you're using the Chromecast Ultra, then obviously you would probably want to be using a controller, and certainly for playing the games, that's perfectly fine. Arguably, it does limit what you can do on the next tab, which is to create. We'll come back to that in a second. So we'll click forward through Socialize. Here's your customization. The look of the characters is pretty standard throughout. So that kind of Fortnite look, which is it's not unsurprising. It uses the same engine. So, why not? And I think that's kind of a look they were quite keen to foster anyway. Now, my character here is wearing a bombastic outfit, which I actually bought in the store. One of the things, we were very lucky as content creators, we were given the deluxe version to play with, which is you pay extra. You will be paying extra if you want it when it goes live tomorrow. So you get the free version, and that gives you something like, I don't know, a few hundred credits, which you can just about see underneath my video. It says 700. But with the deluxe version, you get more. I think I started with 1400, and you can see there that the cost of suits, that one's 600. I think the one I bought was 800. I forget now. But that's what I did. So I thought I'd test it out. So bought the little suit and put it on my character. I think it looks pretty cool. But you can buy emotes. I think yeah, you go. So he's doing a little Charleston for you there. That's 400. I could buy it. I don't intend to. As well as emotes, you can buy stickers, which you can replace. Well, there's one, you can't see it. It's stuck right behind my Stadia Rocks logo. And you can replace those in there, those icons. You can also buy spray, which allows you to kind of tag areas that you go to, like literally a spray can. There are, again, different symbols you might decide you want to associate yourself with. Prove that you've been somewhere, spray it. I'm not sure that they stay there for very long, but, for a little while. So, yeah, that's all cool. And then you've got your settings. Now, it's important to point something out because one of the things, let me just move myself up underneath my logo. One of the things that you'll see in a second when we're in the editing window is that the font set, the size of the interface, which has been kind of fine-tuned for controller and CCU, i.e. usage on a television, can be quite big if you're using it on a monitor with keyboard and mouse. I personally wanted a much smaller interface so that I could get more in. There's a lot to see. And that's cool because if in the controls you R2 across through all of this stuff to editor, and it's hidden away, so you need to come down and move forward. Right down the bottom is this slider, editor scale, which is invaluable. So essentially, I think I took mine down to about 60. And once you've done that, you can then come out. Nothing will have changed here as far as you're concerned. Oh, look at me, I'm floating. What the dickens is going on? And in fact, there you go. Look, somebody has indeed, I think young Jem has sprayed me some roses. How sweet. Jem's flee into a dance there. So in essence, once you, let's go back in again to this. Once you start creating, you'll probably want to play with the scale of the UI because it's bit small it's a bit big, when you kick off. So very quickly, I've only got a few minutes left. The reason being is that in 5 minutes, I'm hooking up with Clive Illenden. We're doing our sound check for Generation X Retro Gaming Club, which is live at 9 p.m. BST this very evening, which won't be this very evening, I'm sure, when you're watching this. I hope that you please do pop along. It's an absolutely fantastic show, huge fun. And sadly, not many people come along, which is a real shame because it's enjoyed by all. Anyway, let's have a quick look at Create now. You can do one or two things here. One is that you can just start with a completely empty canvas. And if you've got an idea that is not catered for in the existing templates they provide you, or you want to try something new, or you kind of want to, cut your teeth on coding and stuff from scratch, you probably want to start there. But it is literally a blank canvas. So you will have to, sort of all your own assets out, pull in packages of scripts and things and bits and pieces. And, that's quite daunting. So I would recommend to start with, you don't do that. To start with, I would recommend that you look along these templates, I guess you call them, themes of games. Let me just move myself out the way yet again. And choose one that's, in the ballpark of what you've got in mind. There's quite a few, to be fair. So you've got a team deathmatch, you've got a collection type game as an adventure. So what you do is you go, yep, I want to do an adventure. Now, some of these will have other options. This one only has one. So I'll select that. I'll give it a name. We won't go through the shortness of time. We'll just put something like weird, like that. That'll do. And then, of course, my picture's over the top of the whatever it is that you do to get the dickens out of this. That's probably that one. Yeah, there we go. Apply and continue. So then you have to select a graphic. I'm hoping that at some point you can change these. I think I heard that you can, because they're fairly limited. And while you're kind of building a game, they'll have no representation of what it will look like. But I guess they need you to have something to kick off with. So there we go. And boop, next we go into a new server. So Google plus Crayta now create a new server for you, exclusively for your game, so that you can start to build your little baby. Now, as you can see here, don't forget we chose adventure, I think. So I'm guessing, I don't know really what you do in an adventure, but I guess you explore the land, find stuff. I'm sure there's some explanation somewhere. Here we've got these little icons here define the kind of start and end points in a game. They can also define things like camera position, lighting position, and so on. As you can see, there's a big old floor. That's your terrain. I'm not going to go into any detail whatsoever about how to create a game. One, because I don't have the time. And two, because 100 people have already done this before I've turned up. What I wanted to do, to be honest with you, was I'd watched a load of content creator videos, and they kind of skirt over the difference between the playing of games and the building of games. And they kind of go straight to the create part. And I just thought it would be useful for you guys to get more of an idea of how that works. But I do want to show you the fundamental difference. I can't switch from my CCU to a keyboard and mouse. That's one of the down points of this title. If you are using it on your CCU, you are limited in terms of what it is that you can do. Oops, wrong one. So let's see, different perspectives. So when you look down the left-hand side, and probably under the right-hand side as well, which I cannot remove, sadly, because Black Lives Matter is there, and in fairness, so it should be, but that is hard baked into this service. But there are some other options under there, and essentially what it's showing you left and right is what you can do with your controller. So for example, I've got there we go. So this is essentially all of your assets. What you can do with the controller is create the look of your game. So at the very least, you could use your controller to either play games or set the look of your game. You create your environments and so on, and then switch over later when you're at a browser to keyboard and mouse to do the more intricate work, the scripting and the mechanics and the detail. You can do some of that here. You can choose, if I choose for an example, let's go across to our meshes. So let me say, for example, I chose a banana because I love a banana. Who doesn't love a banana? And hide that. Now, I now have, as you can see, control of a bunch of bananas. And if I drop that bunch of bananas to fix it into the terrain, and I now want to get rid of that banana. There we go. What I can now do is, I think, and again, I'm kind of doing this blind because I've actually only played this on keyboard and mouse. But what I think you can do if you can select it, so you can definitely move it. One of these allows you to, no, I don't want more bananas. Select the darn thing. Again, as I've said, you're best to watch the actual videos, the other videos that will show you how to do creation. But the point was, when you do select it, and sorry, because I'm looking at a very tiny screen, edit. No, it's not that one. Is it X? Yes, I think it's X. Well, I'm going to pick up my drone anyway. So you get the option of running around this environment as yourself, or using a drone, which will allow you to kind of fly around and do stuff. And also the drone's kind of where you get the full editing. So what you can see now is on my right hand side, all the entity options for my bunch of bananas. I can't see this very, because I'm looking at quite a tiny representation of the screen. You almost certainly will be able to see more than I can. But in essence, this allows you to change things, different dimensions, position of the banana, add a script in without writing any code, because you can't do that with your controller. And have some level of control. So for putting an environment together and quick editing, controller is perfect. But you want to do anything really intricate and really get into this, then you do need the keyboard and mouse. And you'll see it open up into a much more complex and beautiful environment. The big, for me, my personal and one and only big negative is, and I hope they remedy this in the future, possibly even on launch, is there is no inbuilt tutorial. There's no support, help, documentation whatsoever within Crayta. There are some little tooltips that give you some indication of what things do, but you will have to go and watch videos on YouTube of other people doing stuff. It's unavoidable, unfortunately. And to be fair, for an application this complicated, it's kind of fair, to give you the power that Crayta gives you. Does rely on you having to do a little bit of background work. The scripting, for example, largely depends on a language called Lua, L-U-A, which is a kind of web-based scripting language. I'd not come across it before Crayta, but now that I know about it, I realize it's actually quite an established language. And again, if you want to do any of the scripting, you'll need to go and learn Lua. And that relies on you very much getting in there, getting your hands dirty with code. It's not for everybody. It's kind of beyond me a little bit, if I'm honest. The lucky thing is that the Unit 2 Games guys and the community are building scripts all the time, which you can just pull in and use on your game. There are very few instances where you've got to do nothing more than make a few little changes. Sort of maybe font sizes, or choose how long some character is going to live for. It might be a number that's 10, meaning 10 minutes, and you might want it to be 5 minutes, so you might change it to 5. So that's entirely up to you. Excuse my family making a heap of noises out there. They're nicking the chips. They come into the garage. I mean, that's my little secret. It's a garage. Anyway, look, guys, I've got to go because Clive's going to be pulling what little hair he has left out if I don't turn up for our sound check. I hope this has at least given you an insight. I'd like to do a lot more with Crayta, and I think we will do. I've got Andy Morse, bless him, has organized a Crayta 48, which is again another ingenious idea of Andy's. He's really brilliant at coming up with ideas. So this weekend, I think the 4th, the 5th through to the 6th, there'll be about 15 or 16 content creators, including yours truly, who will be building our own part of a game. So I'll be live streaming that. There'll be a few hours over the weekend, and you'll have your choice of another 15 as well. And you can watch all of us. Some of us will stagger, some of us at the same time. And that'll be interesting. And of course, once it's done, you'll have the option to go in and actually play it, which would be amazing. So a real kind of collaborative thing. So that's coming up. I'll be streaming that, chatting about Crayta. One more time, please remember, guys, I'm doing this to promote Click Sergeant. This is Rokk versus uh, Cancer with kids. So, any penny that you can give, it's a massively, massively worthwhile charity. And we're so close now. We're two-thirds of the way to the target. It'll be just amazing to get there within the next couple of weeks. So appreciate you all coming along. Thank you very much. Hope you've enjoyed it. I am going to flip over in 20 minutes to Generation X Retro Gaming Club with young Clive, who, I say young, he's about, I think he's about 3 weeks younger than me. um, but any road up, thank you very much. Enjoy Crayta. If you're picking it up tomorrow, everybody, if you've got a pro subscription, you can claim it for free, or you can pay. I'm not sure what the base price is. I think it's quite affordable. So if you don't have a pro, I would just pick it up, because genuinely, at the very least, you're getting 7 free games. That's value in anybody's money. Have a wonderful evening. Have a fantastic rest of your week. And I will speak to you all very, very soon.